This week on Indian Motorcycle Radio, I'm asking a few questions. How late in the season can I ride? Also going to hit you with some stupid jokes, but what else I got to do? Thank you so much for listening, downloading, and subscribing to Indian Motorcycle Radio. Welcome to Indian Motorcycle Radio, and I'm your host, Reverend Kenn Blanchard. This is the show about Indian motorcycles and the people that ride and love them. Here we are, brothers, once again, back on the microphone, your friend and brother from another mother, the Reverend Kenn Blanchard, and I'm wishing that I had my bike right now because the weather is cool in the morning and in the 70s here in the nation's capital in the afternoon. With this COVID, I'd be riding all through Maryland and Virginia country roads. The question of this week is, how late in the season will you ride? Yeah. It's snowing in Colorado and Minnesota and a bunch of places up the mid-north. I know you Florida cats are happy because weather don't change except for rain, monsoons, hurricanes. But it gets butt cold up here sometimes. I know you New Yorkers know all about that. And New Jerseyites, or we call the people from Jersey. Jersey. Help me out, Rick. What do you call somebody from Jersey? It's cold in the morning. It's frost on the ground. Kind of reminds me of that joke. Where do people who need adult diapers live? Where do people who need adult diapers live? It depends. It depends about riding in the fall or early winter. You know, as soon as I start wearing sweaters, I think my season is over. But I have been known to go out on days like this. The weatherman says, no frost, no rain, no snow. I might get up and go. So unless you live in Canada, where you actually got to have winter tires on your bike, can you believe that? Most folks can ride. Cooler fall weather is already here. Where did you learn how to speak, Ken? I don't know. School, I guess. A lot of folks are retucking their bikes in already, in that corner of the garage for the next few months, waiting for summer to return. Being mentally prepared for the cold is almost as important as your physical ability to withstand it. It's a mind thing. If your mind don't matter, it don't matter, right? But when you're cold, especially your arms and your legs, everything becomes critical. It can turn your miles into milestones. You know, it's easier to get from point A to point B when the temperatures dip near freezing if you know a few things. I got some tips, you know I do, about riding in the cold. We talked about riding in the fall, but now we're going to talk about extreme cold. The early stages of hypothermia and frostbite can be achieved really easy if you don't know what you're doing. If your fingers and toes go from cold to painful to numb, you're on your way to getting some permanent nerve damage. I remember once sleeping in a sleeping bag outside in November. Got a little wet, little rain hit during the night when I wasn't paying attention. My feet came out of the tent, and the tip of my toes had a little frostbite. Burns. Yes, it does. But that was then. Number one thing is you want to keep the wind off. One of the biggest challenges you face when you're riding in the cold is wind chill. You might be cozy warm in a sweater when just walking around outside, but not so much when faced with a 60-mile-an-hour breeze. The easiest way to fight wind is with accessories to add to your bike, like a screen, a fairing, and a handguards. On your person, make sure your clothes are zipped up properly and there's no obvious places for wind to creep in. Just like that story I just told you about the rain hitting me at night through my sleeping bag. A little bit of water this time of year on your gear can cause it to freeze. But I'm going to tell you about that, an easy way to fix that. You know, right now they got a whole bunch of heated gear you can buy. It's a lot better than it used to be. They even got stuff that's not even hooked to your bike. You can buy, I saw a vest advertised on Facebook, pull it out of the pack, put the battery in, and boom, you're gone. But you can get heated everything now. Grips, seat, vest, jacket, gloves, pants, underwear, socks. But again, make sure your bike can handle all that extra juice. Like I said last week, you don't want to be creating an unhealthy battery drain or forgetting to unplug yourself when you get off the bike, which happened to me the one time I did try it. Thing ripped right off my coat, my body almost. Like I almost broke the device. Luckily, I didn't pull that hard, but I did forget it was on. But like I said, they got heated stuff now that's like really cool. And at 80 miles an hour, at 12 degrees Fahrenheit, no amount of insulation is going to keep those fingers from freezing after half an hour. So heated grips are great, but also will not be enough below freezing temperatures. So use a combination of grips, those wind blocking hoods that you can put over your hand grips, and electric gloves if you're riding in like below 20. An electric jacket close to the skin and heated pants and socks when the weather is in its teens and 20s will make you toasty. All that gear that you wear, though, should have some kind of temperature control and a lot less bulk. No one wants to look like the Michelin Man riding down the street. But if you want some expert advice, find somebody who's riding around like New England, New Hampshire, Vermont, upstate New York. Those guys know. And for those who are not rich, don't be afraid of being a cheapskate on the options there. Instead of spending loads of money on heated gear, there are a lot of hacks that can help you trap the heat. For instance, you know those plastic gloves they have at gas stations that everybody's using now for COVID-19? Grab a pair of those the next time you're up and use them as glove liners inside your gloves against the cold. When used in conjunction with some really good riding gloves, they help trap heat as well as keep the moisture and wind off your hands. One of the oldest tricks in the books is wrapping your chest and belly in newspaper before putting on your riding jacket. That's if you get stuck out there with the wrong clothes on. Finding a newspaper might be hard these days. Another classic is tearing holes for your head and arms in a trash bag and wearing it as a vest underneath your jacket. I know it sounds a little silly, but trust me, you won't care. The secret is to dress in layers and start with your core. Remember when they told you in kindergarten? It still applies as an adult. Dressing in layers is the best way to properly regulate your body temperature. And when it comes to cold weather riding, you should especially consider the importance of a thin base layer. Protect your hands. You need these to be optimum. Waterproof gear is a natural windbreaker. Wear some clothes that fit too. Sometimes you think that bigger is better. Not the case. Big, bulky items may allow too much air to circulate. If your jackets puff up at speed, you need to rethink your gear. On the other side of that, don't wear clothes that are too tight and restrict your blood flow. Don't make it a challenge for your body to circulate warm blood to the extremities. And tactically, remember that cotton is rotten. Cotton is a breathable fabric that holds moisture well. That's great in the summer, but terrible when the temperature drops. So leave your favorite sweatshirt at home. Choose wool, fleece, or other fabric that wicks away moisture. And this is especially true on your base. Wear a full-face helmet too. You want as little exposed skin as possible when riding in the cold. A full-face helmet is the easiest way to block that wind and rain and even hold in some heat, not a lot, but a little. I know a lot of guys who, in cold weather, will spend several minutes fussing with neck tubes and scarves and goggles and ski hats. It's just easier to throw on a helmet. I know it's cool looking like Baron von Schluck, but you ain't got to. Oh, and riding tips. Remember that once you prepare yourself physically, take the time to prepare mentally. Consider the things that might affect your riding, like ice, cracks in the road that have formed because of ice, gravel, or sand left over from the snow clearing, and so on. Also think about how the cold affects your bike. The engine and tires will take longer to warm up. In most cases, the solution is to slow things down a little bit and make sure you pack some extra patience. Protect your bike. I mean this in two ways. Firstly, it's true that riding in the cold can increase the risk of dropping your bike. Highway bars, crash bars, and so on can make the difference between cosmetically enhancing scratches, scars are cool, and expensive repairs. Secondly, be sure to protect the bike's metal from road salt by washing it regularly and spraying it down with some WD-40 or something similar. Remember, there's a difference between being warm and being pretty. I know a few guys who refuse to follow tips like this because they think they look like a fool. I understand that. But also, can't help notice that I see these guys from September to May. For me, riding is about freedom and individuality. I'd rather be free and my own man than worry about what somebody else thinks about how I look. I'd rather ride. Can I get an amen and a boom shakalaka somebody? Here's a little tip for a rider whose fingers are starting to freeze on a cold ride. Pull over, stop the bike, keep the engine running, get off, and remove your gloves. Then, one at a time, hold the open end of each glove right at the exhaust tip and rev the engine. Don't pin the throttle and run the engine to redline, but do rev it high enough and long enough to get the insides of the gloves toasty hot. So when you put the gloves back on again, you'll be wearing a smile large enough to crack the ice on your cheeks. The warmth won't last for hours on end, but you can stop when your fingers get cold again and repeat the routine. So basically, you are heating your gloves with your exhaust. Just for a little while. If you get, in a bad way. Lastly, knowing when to call it quits is important. When your core temperature reaches 95 degrees Fahrenheit, you're hyperthermic. Your body will begin to shiver to generate heat, and you'll likely be unable to do much of anything. As your core temperature drops, beyond that, you'll encounter muscle stiffness, followed by involuntary contractions and confusion. If you know about these symptoms, that's the first step to stopping it. No such thing as being a tough guy or gal when it comes to this. Being cold can kill you. So putting aside those attitudes in exchange for some knowledge can save your life.
Hey, do you like this show? Here's a way you can help. Visit buymeacoffee.com/motorcycles. Help me make this a listener-supported podcast dedicated to good people like you. Buy Me a Coffee is a way you can encourage and help me continue to bring you Indian motorcycle radio. buymeacoffee.com/motorcycles. The link is in the show notes. Thanks.
And while I'm journeying through here free of charge, I want to thank Jeff for being a faithful sponsor of this show. There's been some days, Jeff, when I'm going, ain't nobody paying me no attention. And except for Rick and you, I don't get much feedback. We got this Instagram page, but I'm wondering why I'm even doing it, because it's like, who's here? So Jeff and Rick and the Rabbi, thank you guys. If you're watching, if you're listening, can you see me? What am I doing right now? If you're listening, give me a shout out. Let me know that you're there. And if really you're a bad mofo, how about supporting the show with buymeacoffee.com/motorcycle. Have you heard the joke about the guy who went to hell? No? This guy arrived at the gates of hell, and he was just standing there, and the devil was looking at him. And the devil says, "Do you like gambling?" Dude says, "Yeah, great. Mondays is gambling night. We hang out, play poker, Russian roulette, you name it." Followed by other vices. Great, the guy thinks again. Tuesday is drinking night. The sinner starts thinking that maybe hell ain't so bad. By the way, are you gay? No. Straight as they come. Oh. You're going to hate Fridays. Hey, you ever tried adventure riding? There's this group called Moto Vermont, and they travel all over the world on enduro bikes, and they actually train how to camp and motorcycle. They've been to like Cuba and places in Africa and Eastern Asia. They've been all over the place, and they train you how to ride. If you're looking for something totally different, they got some training dates, May 14th through the 16th and June 25th through the 27th of 2021. Rider training, gear and tech seminars, adventure medical training, and instructional adventure riding. Your learning curve for proficient and independent adventure riding can be steep. So many questions: what bike to buy? What's the best ride? What gear to use? What to do when things go wrong? And it's a weekend thing. It's kind of a classroom out in the field, teach you how to change a tire even. One portion of the intro to adventure takes place on a closed training area, and the other portion takes place on local roads and trails for real-world training. And this group really, they had a trip to Cuba, which I wanted to go on way back in the day. For more information, check out motovermont.com. That's motovermont.com. It's the ultimate educational weekend for those new to adventure riding. This class looks like it's about $650, and now, according to the website, that May 14th class is sold out. Man, I just found out about it. What a rip. Check it out yourself, motovermont.com, and see if you can get a spot. Back in the day, I got a chance to interview these guys. That's why I'm on the list. So they sent me this thing. But I wanted to share it with you because it ain't too late. That's my new motto for everything right now. It ain't too late to be what you might have been. Speaking of cold weather riding, what are you doing right now to prepare your bike for storage or putting it up for the winter? What do you do different? I'd like to know. You can put your photos on our Instagram. Strike that. On our Facebook page. I think I might shut that Instagram thing down. All the people who are on my Instagram page is this one knife maker from Pakistan who makes some like gorgeous Damascus knives, but they're expensive as hell. And that jerk is blowing me up trying to get me to buy a whole bunch of his stuff. And who else is on there? Oh, I got some cigar smokers on there. That's about it. For the most part, I stick your pictures up there and again. Now, I ain't blaming you or nothing. I'm just saying that it's might not be our medium unless you're a babe. Like I remember one time in a moment of weakness, I clicked on this link for this Latina, and because she was, hourglass shaped, and she was stunning. But it must have been connected to a whole bunch of robots, because the next thing I know, I got all kind of similar requests to join, to sign up, to look at my pictures. And, man, it's dangerous out here. Them damn robots are the devil. Anybody checked out the new bikes on Indian's motorcycle website? They got the 2021s are out now. And I'm just looking at the color choices. Of all the colors in the spectrum of the rainbow, why are there only like black, silver, white, olive drab, and some two-tones out there? Every once in a while you see a blue one, but then they charge you like $5,000 more for any new color. Or is that just me being persnickety right about now? Now, I went to the to a thing about accessories. And for example, under their power band audio saddlebag speaker lids, there's a whole bunch of colors on this thing that I never see on a bike. There's like a burnt orange. There's a blue, radar blue. There's a thunder black over ivory chrome, stealth gray, thunder black azure crystal, polished bronze over thunder black, ghost white metallic, polished bronze over thunder black. I think I said that already. What else we got here? Thunder black, dragon green, dark walnut, thunder black pearl, bronze smoke, brilliant blue, steel gray. What's this one? Ruby metallic. Now, I never see these bikes this color. If you have a bike that's not red, black, white, or gray, give me a shout out. Let me know. Send me a picture. There's got to be proof somewhere that there's more than 3 or 4 colors to this thing. Actually, if I could find me that burnt orange metallic smoke, my wife might buy it for me. She loves orange. And the two-tone ones, I'm just not feeling. Except for that one that's $900 million. That what's the name of that bike? It's the Elite Roadmaster that's kind of silver that Brother Sawyer has. That bike, that's the only one I like. The red and the black and the silver all mixed together, yeah, that one's tight. But the rest of these jokers, somebody needs to update that paint shop. Or is it just me? I'm just too psychedelic for you. All right, here's another question for you. How many of you guys got the ape hangers? That was a thing in the Easy Rider days, and it kind of came back. A lot of folks prefer to have their hands a little higher up than stock. I'm not in that group yet. What's some of the benefits for having your handlebars rising a little higher, rising a little higher? Would love to hear some feedback from you. And I think that's all I got for you this week, except for one more joke. Yeah, my jokes are, well, you know. 3 women, one engaged, one married, and one a mistress, are chatting about their relationships and decided to amaze their men. That night, all 3 would wear black leather bras, stiletto heels, and a mask over their eyes. After a few days, they meet up for lunch. The engaged woman says, "The other night when my boyfriend came over, he found me in a black leather bodice, tall stilettos, and a mask. He saw me and said, 'You are the woman of my life. I love you.' Then they made love all night long." The mistress said, "Me too. The other night I met my lover at his office, and I was wearing that leather bodice, the heels, the mask over my eyes, and a raincoat. And when I opened the raincoat, he didn't say a word. But we had wild sex all night." The married woman said, "I sent the kids to stay at my mother's house for the night. When my husband came home, I was wearing that leather bodice, the black stockings, the stilettos, and a mask over my eyes. And as soon as he came through the door and he saw me, he said, 'What's for dinner, Batman?'" All right, my friends, that's it for this week. I want to thank you for listening, downloading, and subscribing to your favorite righteous podcast, Indian Motorcycle Radio. Now may the road rise up to meet you. May the wind be always at your back. May the sun shine warm upon you. And until we meet again, may God hold you in the hollow of his hand. Kickstands up. Let's ride.